Chosen one. Stop and listen. Heaven itself has halted its rhythm so that this moment would reach you. The stillness you feel is not emptiness. It is God leaning close, making sure you do not miss His voice. You may think you came here by chance, but nothing in your life has been accidental. The weight of eternity has been pressing gently on your path, guiding you to this exact instant. You have known it deep down, that quiet stirring inside of you, the sense that there is more. It is not imagination. It is not coincidence. It is God's call, echoing through the corridors of your soul. Right now He is saying, "Do not walk away. I have been waiting." Oh, think of the nights you carried questions like heavy stones. Why am I so misunderstood? Why does life feel harder for me than others? Why does it seem like no matter how much I give, I am always the one left empty? Those were not just lonely thoughts. They were spiritual signals. They were signs of your divine difference. Reminders that you are not meant to blend in with the crowd. I once heard the story of a young woman who felt like she was drowning in silence. She said her life was like standing on a train platform, watching everyone else board and move forward, while she stayed behind, stuck and forgotten. Years later, she discovered that what felt like delay was really protection. The doors that refused to open for her were doors that would have destroyed her. She wept when she realized that God had been waiting with her on that platform all along, guarding her steps until the right train arrived. That train changed everything. Maybe that is where you are now, in the waiting place, in the silence. But waiting is not wasted. Silence is not absence. God's timing is precise, and He has never let go of you. The Word of God declares in the book of Hosea, chapter 14, verse 4, "I will heal their backsliding. I will love them freely, for my anger has turned away from them." Do you hear the tenderness in those words? You may have walked away before, stumbled, rebelled, or drifted into places you knew were not meant for you. Yet still, His love remains unshaken. He has not grown tired of waiting. His mercy has not expired. He is ready, even now, to pour healing over your weary soul and call you back into the light. Chosen one. Your life is like a lamp placed on a windowsill during the night. You can try to hide it, but the glow will always slip through the cracks. Darkness cannot silence it. You are not called to extinguish what He placed inside of you. You are called to rise and shine. That is why heaven pauses for you now, because the light you carry is desperately needed in this generation. You may feel too broken, too stained, or too unworthy. But think of stained glass. Its beauty comes not from perfection, but from broken pieces brought together by a master's hand. In the same way, your cracks do not disqualify you. They are where God's light shines brightest. Do not walk away. Not this time. You have felt the pull before, only to let distractions steal the moment. But today is different. Today is a divine intersection. You are standing at the doorway of destiny, and heaven is asking you to step through. So pause. Let your soul acknowledge this holy interruption. Let your heart whisper, "Yes, I hear you." Unquote. And now, take one small act of faith. Write the number 111 inches the comments as a prophetic sign that you are aligning yourself with God's call in this moment. Small steps in faith open great doors in the unseen. If this word has touched you, do not keep it hidden. Share it with someone else who needs to know that heaven still waits for them. And subscribe so you can continue walking this journey, because what begins here is only the first spark of what God has planned for you. Chosen one. Heaven has stopped everything for you right now. The question is, will you walk away? Or will you finally step into the love that has been waiting all along? Chosen one. Pause again and breathe this truth in. The door is still open. Do not delay. For the voice calling you now is the same voice that created the stars. Step forward. Your new beginning starts here. And heaven rejoices. Chosen one. The tears you thought no one saw have not gone unnoticed. Heaven has counted every drop. You may have cried in silence, hiding your face so others would not see. Yet the one who formed you has recorded it all. Each ache, each whispered question in the night has been preserved as testimony of your journey. Nothing has been wasted. You have lived seasons where sorrow was your closest companion. It clung to you like a shadow that would not leave. Others might have mistaken your silence for strength. But deep inside you carried weights so heavy, they bent your very soul. You longed for someone to understand, someone to truly see beneath the surface. And though people failed, heaven never turned away. Imagine your heart as a jar filled with water. Every disappointment was a drop. Every betrayal, another. Every loss, another still. Slowly the jar filled until it seemed ready to overflow. Yet instead of bursting, God Himself has held it steady. His hands wrapped around the glass, ensuring it did not shatter. And here is the truth. He will not let it break. He has been safeguarding you through every unseen battle. There is a story of a man who carried silent wounds. On the outside, he seemed fine, smiling at work, polite in conversation, reliable in his duties. But when he returned home, he collapsed into solitude. Weighed down by grief he could not put into words. He once described it as walking through invisible rain that no one else could feel. For years, he thought his pain was pointless. But in time, God revealed that the same tears that watered his nights would one day water the seeds of his calling. His compassion deepened. His voice carried power. His story began to heal others who thought they were alone. That is the mystery of your tears too. They have not been wasted. They are being transformed into strength, into empathy, into authority, to speak into darkness with credibility. Because you have been in the valley, you will one day guide others through their valleys. Because you have known silence, your words will matter when you finally speak. We are reminded through the writings of David in the Psalms, chapter 56, verse 8. You keep track of all my sorrows. You have collected all my tears in your book. What an image, every tear, gathered like precious pearls in the hands of the Almighty, not discarded, not ignored, collected, valued, preserved. The tears that made you feel weak have become evidence of your strength. The nights you thought broke, you have actually marked you as one who survives. Chosen one. Understand this. Your tears are not a sign of failure, but of depth. Shallow souls do not weep for long. Only those with great capacity carry sorrows deeply. You are one of those souls, and God has been shaping you through it all. Think of a violin. Its beauty emerges only because of the tension on its strings. Without that stretching, the instrument would produce no song. In the same way, the tension of your sorrows has tuned your life to produce melodies of hope for others. One day, what hurt you most will become what helps you minister. And though you may not see it now, your story is already unfolding in ways you cannot measure. People have watched you endure. They may never have said it out loud, but your perseverance has spoken volumes. Without realizing it, you have inspired others to keep going. You might look at your reflection and see scars, but heaven looks and sees evidence of resilience. The cracks in your soul are not ugly, they are holy, reminders that even under crushing weight, you refused to collapse. You bent, yes, but you did not break. Do not despise the tears. They have cleansed you more than you know. They have softened your heart, making space for compassion where bitterness could have grown. They have washed away illusions, forcing you to see what truly matters. They have watered the soil of your spirit so that fruit can come in its season. Chosen one, even in sorrow, you are being prepared. God has been waiting, not with impatience, but with love, waiting for the moment you would realize none of your silent pain was wasted. It has been gathered, sanctified, and turned into holy oil that will one day anoint the very places you thought were dead. Your story is still unfolding, and the tears that once blurred your vision will become the very lens through which you see His goodness more clearly than ever before. Chosen one, you need to know this truth. You were marked long before your first cry was heard on this earth. Before you opened your eyes, before anyone knew your name. The author of all time had already written a destiny over you. You are not an accident. You are not a mistake. You are a deliberate design, formed with intention, sealed with purpose. There is something powerful about realizing you were chosen before you ever had a choice. Many have tried to explain why you are different. Some said you are too intense, too sensitive, too stubborn, or too spiritual. But the deeper reason is this: your very DNA carries an assignment, like a seal pressed into wax. Heaven imprinted something within you that cannot be erased. Think of it like this: a gold coin may be buried in the dirt, covered in mud, forgotten for years, but the image stamped on it remains. No matter how long it lies hidden, when it is finally cleaned and lifted, the mark is still there. That is you. Life may have covered you with dust, with mistakes, with pain, but the imprint of God remains. Nothing has erased it. I once met a young man who said he felt out of place his whole life. He was laughed at by friends, dismissed by teachers, misunderstood by family. He tried everything to fit in, changing how he spoke, how he dressed, even who he spent time with. Yet something inside him always rebelled against blending in. Years later, he discovered his calling was to be a voice of courage in a fearful generation. Suddenly, what once made him odd became the very thing that made him powerful. His difference was his assignment. Chosen one. The same is true for you. The things that set you apart, the parts of you the world never understood, were actually signs of your calling. What felt like rejection was redirection. What felt like isolation was incubation. You were being set apart because you were meant for more. As the prophet Jeremiah recorded in the 1st chapter, verse 5, "Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart. I appointed you as a prophet to the nations." These words are not just ancient poetry. They are living truth, echoing into your story. God knew you before you knew yourself. He set you apart before anyone else labeled you. That means your life is not random. It carries eternal weight. Consider the eagle. From its earliest days, it is not like other birds. While sparrows chirp in the fields, the eagle is trained by heights. Its wings are meant for storms, not cages. If it tries to live like a sparrow, it will always feel wrong. But when it stretches its wings into the wind, suddenly everything makes sense. You, too, are not built for cages. You are marked for skies. You may wonder why battles have been so fierce over your life, why temptations came harder, why struggles lasted longer, why losses cut deeper. It is because darkness recognized your mark long before you did. Hell has tried to silence what heaven has sealed. But here is the good news. It has failed. You are still here. And the very fact you are still standing is proof that the mark of God is greater than any scheme of the enemy. Chosen one. Pause and let this truth sink in. You have always been set apart. You were never meant to walk the wide road. You were born for the narrow path that leads to life. Now, if this resonates in your spirit, I want you to declare it boldly. Comment these 3 words below. I am marked. Oh, this is not just typing something on a screen. It is you agreeing with heaven's decree over your life. It is you refusing the lies that told you that you were ordinary, overlooked, or worthless. When you write those words, you are putting your soul in alignment with the eternal truth that God has chosen you and stamped His image upon you. Let the world know. Let the unseen realm know. And let your own heart know. You are marked. You are chosen. And you will rise in the identity God has given you. Chosen one. When you type, I am marked, you are not just writing words. You are declaring that the invisible fingerprint of heaven has always been on your life. It is a confession of identity, a rejection of the lie that you are forgotten, and a recognition that your story is not over. Those 3 words are powerful because they shift your posture. Instead of living as though you are chasing validation, you begin to live from the truth that you already carry divine approval. When you speak it, you remind your own spirit. You notify the enemy, and you honor the one who chose you, long before you ever chose him. Chosen one. You have often wondered why your path has felt different from others. While people around you seem to move smoothly through life, doors opening easily, your road seemed filled with detours, rejections, and unanswered questions. And in those moments you whispered, "Why me?" The answer lies in your identity. You are not designed for ordinary patterns. You are set apart. And with that separation comes experiences that others may never face. Your rejection was not a punishment. It was a signal that you do not belong where the majority settle. Imagine a sculptor working on stone, while uncarved blocks remain untouched. The one chosen for a masterpiece feels every strike of the chisel. The cutting away is painful, but the purpose is beauty. In the same way, the pressure you have endured has been shaping you into a vessel worthy of carrying light. There was once a man who could not understand why friendships constantly broke around him. He longed for belonging, tried to adjust himself to fit, but time and again, relationship dissolved. It wounded him deeply, convincing him he was unlovable. Years later, he discovered his path required solitude, so he could develop a depth of prayer that would later guide multitudes. What he once thought was rejection was actually preservation. His isolation was not evidence of being unwanted. It was evidence of being chosen. Your story may mirror his. You have felt misunderstood, even by those closest to you. You have walked into rooms where your spirit felt out of place, where conversations seemed shallow compared to what burned inside you. You may have wondered if something was wrong with you. But hear this: nothing is wrong with you. The fire inside you simply cannot be contained by shallow waters. As the Apostle wrote in his letter to the Romans, chapter 12, verse 2, "Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Then you will be able to test and approve what God's will is, his good, pleasing and perfect will." And this verse reveals the truth of your journey. The reason you never felt at home in the world's patterns is because you were designed for transformation. You cannot blend in, because blending in would kill the very uniqueness God planted within you. Think of oil and water. No matter how much you stir, they never truly mix. They may appear blended for a moment, but soon the separation shows again. You are like that oil, distinct, set apart, carrying a different weight. And though the world may try to stir you into its mixture, heaven will always separate you again, because your composition is not the same. This difference explains the spiritual warfare you have endured. Darkness is threatened by what it cannot control. It has tried to confuse you, to make you doubt your worth, to lure you into compromising your calling. But the very intensity of the battle is proof of your significance. No thief breaks into an empty house. The attacks came because you carry treasure, chosen one. Even your silence has been misunderstood. People assumed your quietness was weakness, but in reality, it was the Spirit working within you, teaching you to listen before you speak, to discern before you act. While others rushed forward, you were being trained in patience. While others sought applause, you were being trained in hiddenness. Consider the pearl. It forms inside an oyster only because of irritation, sand pressing where it does not belong. Over time, the oyster layers the grain with beauty until what once caused pain becomes a treasure. In the same way, your irritations, your unwanted pressures, have been producing something precious within you. And though you may not fully see it yet, there is a wisdom in your spirit that was born from these struggles. You have learned resilience others cannot imitate. You have discovered that even in isolation, you were never alone. That realization will become your testimony, and your testimony will become the map for others who feel lost. Chosen one, you were never meant to fit the mold. Your difference is not your weakness. It is your distinction. Heaven has been shaping you through misunderstanding, rejection, and solitude, preparing you for a season where your uniqueness will no longer be a burden but a crown. Hold fast to this truth. You are not broken. You are not behind. You are not less. You are set apart by design. And the very things that once made you question yourself will one day become the evidence that you were marked for something greater than the world could ever offer. Chosen one. Your life has always been a battlefield. Whether you realized it or not, you have stood at the center of a tug of war between light and darkness. That is why you have felt the weight of invisible opposition, sudden waves of discouragement, and the constant pull to give up. The fight has not been against flesh and blood, but against unseen forces that recognize who you are and what you carry. If you have wondered why temptation stalks you, why depression tries to cling, Why doors seem harder to open for you than for others? It is because you are not ordinary. The enemy does not waste resources chasing shadows. He attacks what has value. You, chosen one, are a treasure, and treasures are always fought for. Picture a lighthouse standing on the edge of a stormy coast. Waves crash violently against its base. Winds howl through the night. Yet the light keeps shining. That is you. Darkness does everything it can to break you. But you remain standing, still shining, even when you feel cracked inside. The battle you face is the very proof of the light you carry. And yet, here is the greater truth. You are not fighting alone. Heaven has been surrounding you. Angels have been guarding your steps. God Himself has been holding your soul steady in the fiercest storms. As the Apostle Paul wrote in his second letter to the Corinthians, chapter 10, verse 4, "The weapons we fight with are not the weapons of the world. On the contrary, they have divine power to demolish strongholds." This is the reminder that though the battle is real, so is your authority. You have been equipped with spiritual weapons that darkness cannot withstand. Even your whispered prayers carry more weight than armies of shadows. Chosen one, do not underestimate yourself. Every time you resisted the urge to quit, you declared war on despair. Every time you forgave, instead of retaliating, you struck a blow against bitterness. Every time you stood back up after falling, you proclaimed to the unseen world, "I am not defeated." No, this fight has shaped you. It has carved strength into your spirit. It has purified your motives, sharpened your vision, and prepared you for greater victories ahead. And now, let me speak to your heart with gentleness. If these words have reached you, if they have given you strength in the middle of your own battles, I invite you with no pressure, with no condition, to consider partnering with this mission. Think of it like tending a fire in the night. Someone has to gather the wood. Someone has to guard the flame. Someone has to keep it alive so that weary travelers can find warmth and light. That is what this work is, a fire lit for the chosen ones of this generation. And you have the chance to help keep it burning. Press like as if you were placing one brick upon a tower of light, helping it rise higher and shine farther. Share this message as though you were releasing a lantern on a dark river, letting it drift until it finds another soul who needs its glow. Subscribe as if you were filling your own lamp with oil, so that when night comes, your light will not go out. And if your heart feels moved, give as though planting a seed into the soil. No one demands it, but that seed can grow into a forest where others will one day find shade and life. But hear this clearly, this is never an obligation. You are not buying favor from God. You are not paying for blessings. This is only an invitation to participate in what He is already doing. Just as rain falls freely, yet some choose to gather it in jars to share with others, so too does this message flow freely. And your support simply makes it possible to pour into more vessels. Some will simply watch the lighthouse. Others will help maintain it. Both are welcome. Both are loved. If you cannot give, your presence here still matters deeply. But if your heart stirs and you feel led, then let your contribution, small or great, be like oil poured into a lamp, ensuring the flame never dies out. Chosen one, the battle for your soul is real, but so is the victory marked over you. And as you choose to stand in the light, you also choose to help that light shine for others. So let your heart decide freely. If you are moved, act. If you are not, rest in knowing this word was still for you. What matters most is that you understand this truth. You are fought for because you are priceless, and nothing, not storms, not shadows, not setbacks, can erase the mark of heaven upon your life. Chosen one. There has been a voice following you, not the harsh voice of accusation, not the condemning voice of shame, but the quiet and steady voice of God Himself. You've heard it in moments you tried to ignore, in the silence of the night, in the middle of the noise of the day. Sometimes it sounded like your own thoughts, other times it felt like a whisper on the wind, yet it never left you. This voice does not demand, it invites. It does not shout. It draws near. When you walked into places you knew were not right for you, it was there, gently tugging at your heart. When you considered choices that could have destroyed your soul, it whispered, "Don't do it." When you felt like giving up, it said, "Hold on." This voice has been your lifeline, even when you didn't realize it. Think of a shepherd calling his sheep. The flock may scatter, distracted by fields and noise. But the sheep that belong to the shepherd recognize the tone of his call. That's you. You've heard many voices, but there's one that cuts through them all. One that feels like home, even when you try to resist. The ancient words remind us in the Gospel of John, chapter 10, verse 27. "My sheep listen to my voice, I know them, and they follow me." And chosen one. This is the very essence of your journey. You have been pursued not by anger, but by love. God knows you fully, deeply, completely, and still calls your name. That voice that will not let you go is not meant to haunt you, but to guide you. I once heard the story of a man who tried to drown out that voice. He filled his life with busyness, noise, and constant activity so he wouldn't have to face it. Yet every night, when the world grew quiet, the same whisper returned, "Come home." He said it was like a melody that would not leave his mind. Eventually, he realized the persistence of that voice was mercy itself. God had not given up on him, and when he finally responded, peace entered his life in a way he had never known. Perhaps you've done the same, tried to bury the whisper under distractions, under achievements, even under sin. But no matter how far you've wandered, the voice still comes back. Why? Because you are chosen. Because heaven refuses to let you slip away unnoticed. Imagine standing in a crowded marketplace, voices all around, noise filling the air. Suddenly, you hear someone call your name, not loudly, but clearly enough that you know it was for you. That is how God's voice works. It cuts through the chaos, personal and unmistakable. Chosen one. Don't ignore it this time. The voice you've been hearing is not your imagination. It is not coincidence. It is not random. It is the Father calling you closer, reminding you that His plan for your life is still alive. This is where I ask you to take a small but powerful step. Comment the number 222 below. Why 222? Because it is a prophetic reminder of God's confirmation, His alignment, and His faithful pursuit of you. It symbolizes the voice that keeps repeating, the gentle nudge that doesn't stop, the truth spoken again and again until you finally recognize it. By typing 222, you're not just putting numbers on a screen, you are saying, I hear you, Lord, I know it's you, and I choose to listen. N. When you declare 222, you are aligning your heart with the voice that has been guiding you. You are acknowledging that you're done running, done doubting, done questioning whether it's real. You're choosing to trust that the whisper inside of you is the voice of the one who made you. Think of it as answering a call. When the phone rings, silence does not connect you. You must pick it up. Commenting 222 is your way of picking up the call, of saying, I'm here, I'm listening, I'm ready. M. And as you do, something shifts in the unseen. The same voice that has pursued you will grow louder in your spirit. Clarity will replace confusion. Peace will replace fear. Hope will replace despair. You will begin to recognize his guidance in ways you never noticed before. Because now you've responded. Chosen one. Let this be the moment. The voice has been calling you for years, and you've heard it again and again. Do not dismiss it anymore. Listen, respond, and step into the peace it brings. The one who calls you is faithful, and he will never stop until you are fully home. Chosen one. This is the moment. You must not turn away. Life has given you countless crossroads, places where you could have chosen surrender, compromise, or escape. And truthfully, there were times you did walk away. Times when the pull of the world felt stronger than the whisper of heaven. But look where you are now. Grace has carried you back again. Mercy has kept the door open, though you thought it was closed. There is an urgency that cannot be ignored. The decisions you make now will shape more than your days. They will shape destinies, both yours and those connected to you. That is why you feel the weight pressing on your spirit. This is not about guilt or fear. It is about awakening. It is about realizing that every moment of hesitation is borrowed time. Consider the story of a man who wandered for years, chasing every voice except the one that truly mattered. He sought approval in people, success in money, satisfaction in fleeting pleasures. Each road promised fulfillment, but ended in emptiness. One night, in despair, he cried out, "Why does nothing last?" And in the silence, a gentle voice responded, "Because you were made for what is eternal." That night, he realized he had been walking away from the only one who had never walked away from him. Maybe that is your story too. Maybe you have tried to fill the ache with distractions, relationships, or achievements, yet the ache remains. That emptiness is not a curse, it is evidence of design. A heart crafted for eternal love cannot be satisfied with temporary things. As the Spirit spoke through the prophet Jeremiah in chapter 2, verse 13, "My people have committed two sins. They have forsaken me, the spring of living water, and have dug their own cisterns, broken cisterns that cannot hold water." Oh, this is what happens when you walk away. You leave the spring that flows freely and try to drink from broken vessels that never satisfy. No wonder the thirst never ends. No wonder you feel the dryness in your soul, even when everything on the outside looks full. But hear this clearly, the spring is still flowing. The water is still offered. Even now, God extends the invitation to return and drink deeply. He does not close his well. He does not ration his mercy. The supply is endless, waiting for you to step back into it. Think of your journey as a path through a vast desert. The sun scorches. Your lips crack. Your strength wanes. You stumble, searching for relief. Then, just beyond the next rise, an oasis shimmers. This is the choice before you now. Will you collapse in the sand, or will you take the few final steps toward the water that has been waiting? Do not believe the lie that you have gone too far, that the door has closed forever. The very breath in your lungs is proof that mercy is still available. Every sunrise declares another chance. Every heartbeat whispers, it is not too late. And yet, this mercy is not meant to be delayed forever. Imagine standing at the edge of a harbor. The ship has not yet left, but the horn has sounded. The bridge is still down, but soon it will lift. You are being urged, not by fear, but by love, to step aboard before the departure. Once the moment passes, regret cannot bring it back. Chosen one. What makes this moment sacred is that it may be your turning point. You cannot live in two directions forever. You cannot serve both the spring of life and the broken cisterns. Sooner or later, you must choose where to drink. And here is the beauty. God does not call you back with shame. He calls you back with love. He does not point at your failures as evidence against you. He points at his cross as evidence for you. Everything you think disqualifies you has already been covered. Everything you fear has already been answered. So let this word settle deep. Do not walk away this time. The invitation is alive. The door is open, and the spring of living water is still flowing for you. Chosen one. Picture yourself standing at that fountain. The water is clear, flowing, unending. You only need to bend down and drink. Every dry place within you, every thirst that has gone unsatisfied, will be filled the moment you choose to draw from him again. And when you do, you will find that the strength you thought was gone returns. Hope will rise where despair tried to reign. Peace will quiet the chaos, and joy will bloom, even in the wilderness of your soul. Chosen one. Have you noticed how often signs seem to appear around you? A number repeating itself. A word spoken at just the right time. A stranger's kindness that answers the very question you carried in silence. You may have dismissed these as coincidences, but they were never coincidences. They were whispers from heaven, reminders that God has been weaving his guidance into the very fabric of your days. Think of how a compass works. Even when buried deep inside a pocket, the needle points north, unmoved by the distractions around it. In the same way, the spirit within you has been pointing steadily toward truth. Those signs you keep seeing are not random. They are confirmations of direction. I once heard the story of a young man who was restless, uncertain about his future. He prayed for clarity, but heard only silence. Then he began to notice something strange. Each time he opened his phone, the time read 3:16. At first he laughed it off, but after weeks of this, he finally opened a Bible and read John 3:16. That verse pierced his heart in a way nothing else had. What he thought was coincidence was actually God's gentle persistence, calling him back. Your life may carry similar patterns. Perhaps you keep hearing the same phrase, or certain dreams repeat themselves. Perhaps you feel drawn to a place, a scripture, or even a person who keeps crossing your path. These are not accidents. They are signs that God is paying close attention, signs that you are not wandering alone. According to what is revealed in the book of Job, chapter 33, Verses 14 and 15. For God does speak now one way, now another, though no one perceives it. In a dream, in a vision of the night, when deep sleep falls on people as they slumber in their beds. End of. This ancient truth is still alive. God communicates in countless ways, but the challenge is that we often do not perceive it. Our busyness, or distraction, our doubts cause us to overlook what was meant as a lifeline, yet the signs persist, gentle but steady, waiting for us to awaken. Imagine your journey like walking through a dense forest. The trail is hard to see. The trees close in. Shadows confuse your sight. But then you notice small markers carved into the trunks, arrows, symbols, signs left by a guide who has gone ahead. If you pay attention, you will never be lost. But if you ignore them, the forest will swallow your sense of direction. So it is with your life. The markers are there. Numbers, words, scriptures, even the timing of events, all meant to remind you that you are being guided. The question is whether you are willing to slow down long enough to notice them. Chosen one. Understand this. God does not waste communication. If He repeats a sign, it is because He wants to anchor something deep in you. If He highlights a word, it is because that word carries life for the season you are in. If He places a person in your path, it may be because that person holds a key for your next step. These signs are not to be worshipped or idolized, but to be received as love notes from heaven. They are confirmations, not replacements for God Himself. They are meant to point you back to Him, not distract you from Him. Think of rain falling on a window. Each drop on its own seems insignificant, but together they trace a pattern, revealing a direction. In the same way, the signs in your life may seem small, but when gathered, they create a picture of God's faithfulness. Perhaps you are in a season of doubt. You wonder if you have missed your way, if you have walked too far into confusion. If so, pay attention. The signs are around you even now. That persistent scripture, that unexpected encouragement, that nudge in your spirit, they are not random. They are arrows carved into the trees of your forest, guiding you home. Chosen one. Let your eyes be open. Let your spirit be attentive. For the signs you see are not coincidences but confirmations. They are heaven's way of reminding you that you are never abandoned, never left to wander alone. The one who began your story is still writing, still guiding, still leaving markers along the path so that you will know exactly where to step next. Even in the silence, the signs remain. They are like stars scattered across a night sky, guiding sailors home. If you will lift your eyes and notice, you will realize heaven has been speaking all along. Chosen one. The chains that tried to hold you have never been stronger than the power of God within you. Some of those chains were visible addictions, toxic relationships, destructive habits. Others were invisible fear, shame, anxiety, and cycles of doubt. They tightened slowly, link by link, until you began to believe you would never be free. Yet, here you are, still breathing, still standing, still carrying a spark that refuses to die. Breaking chains is not always loud. Sometimes it begins with a whisper, the decision in your heart that says, enough. Other times it feels like a slow cracking, as old patterns start to crumble under the weight of new light. What once bound you is not eternal. Every chain has a weakness, and in God's presence, that weakness is exposed. Think of a bird raised in a cage. Even when the door swings open, the bird hesitates, uncertain if freedom is possible. Its wings are strong, but untested. Its fear of the open sky keeps it inside. You may feel the same. Freedom has been offered, but fear whispers, "You cannot make it." That is the lie that keeps many chained. The truth is this: the moment you step out, the wind of heaven will carry you. I remember hearing the testimony of a woman who spent years enslaved to shame. Every mistake haunted her. Every memory dragged her backward. She said it felt like living with chains around her ankles, dragging iron across the floor everywhere she went. But then, in prayer, she pictured those chains being cut by unseen hands. For the first time in years, she ran in her spirit. The physical circumstances did not change overnight, but something inside her broke free, and eventually her life followed. As was spoken in the sacred texts of Romans, chapter 8, verse 2, "Through Christ Jesus, the law of the Spirit, who gives life, has set you free from sin and death." That is not a suggestion. It is a declaration. Freedom is not a possibility. It is a reality purchased for you. You may not feel it yet, but truth is not measured by feelings. Truth is eternal. And truth says, the chains are broken. Chosen one, the weight you have carried is not yours to carry forever. The shame that whispers unworthy is not your identity. The fear that tightens its grip at night is not your master. You are free. Even now, heaven proclaims it over you. You are free. Picture yourself standing with rusted chains at your feet. They may have held you once, but now they lie shattered, powerless to bind you again. Your scars remain as reminders, but they no longer define you. You are more than your past. You are more than your mistakes. You are more than the weight you once carried. And here, I want you to do something bold but simple. Type these 3 words in the comments: "Chains are broken," and when you write it, you are not just making a statement. You are declaring to your own soul that freedom belongs to you. You are testifying to the unseen world that the door of the cage is open and you are stepping out. You are reminding darkness that it lost its grip, that it has no final word over your story. Every chain that tried to bind you has already been broken by the Spirit of life. All that remains is for you to walk in it, to claim it, to live it. The sound of chains falling is the anthem of your new beginning. Chosen one. When you type "chains are broken," you are not simply agreeing with me, you are agreeing with heaven. You are echoing the voice of God who has already declared your freedom. Writing it is like planting a flag in the ground of your spirit, saying, "This territory no longer belongs to darkness, it belongs to light." Do not underestimate this act. It may feel small, but faith often looks small before it grows mighty. A seed is tiny when dropped into the soil, yet, in time, it becomes a tree that offers shelter. In the same way, those 3 words may look simple on a screen, but they carry the weight of testimony. They remind your heart of truth. They silence the accusations of the enemy. And they announce to others walking in their own battles that freedom is possible. Chains are not only broken for you, they are broken through you. As you step out of your cage, you leave the door open, for others to follow. Your declaration becomes their encouragement. Your freedom becomes their hope. And in this, you become a living witness that the Spirit of life always has the final word. Chosen one, it is time for you to understand the weight of the light you carry. You may not see it when you look in the mirror, but your presence shifts the atmosphere. Darkness trembles when you walk into a room because you are not ordinary. You are a carrier of heaven's flame. Think of a lantern carried through a cave. The walls are thick. The path is narrow. The shadows press in. Yet the moment the lantern is lifted, the darkness loses its grip. It doesn't matter how long the cave has been dark. A single flame can change centuries of silence in an instant. That is you. You carry within you the fire of the Spirit. It is not something you earned, but something placed within you by design. That fire has survived storms, survived disappointments, survived attacks meant to extinguish it, and still it burns. As Jesus himself declared in the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 5, verse 14, "You are the light of the world. A city set on a hill cannot be hidden." Chosen one, these are not gentle words of encouragement. They are a mandate. You were never meant to stay hidden. Your light is not for yourself alone. It is for others stumbling in the dark, searching for hope. I once knew a woman who lived quietly, convinced her life made no impact. She prayed in silence, encouraged others softly, and gave what little she had. She thought her flame was too small to matter. Years later, testimonies poured in, people whose lives had been saved, people who kept going because of her words, her prayers, her presence. She realized her small flame had lit countless torches. That is how your light works too. Now, let me pause here and speak from the heart. If this message has touched you, if you sense your flame glowing stronger even as you hear these words, there are ways you can help carry this light further. Press like as though you were placing another candle beside this one, making the glow brighter for all to see. Share this message as though you were passing a torch across the night, so another weary traveler can find their way. Subscribe as if you were choosing to keep oil in your lamp, ensuring your flame never runs dry. And if you feel led, only if your spirit stirs with willingness, consider giving as though you were planting a tree in the wilderness. That tree will grow to offer shade to those who come after you. Your gift is never wasted, because it becomes life for another soul. Hear me clearly, this is not an obligation. God's love for you does not rise or fall with what you give. But sometimes, giving becomes an act of joining the story. It is like adding another log to a fire. The flame could burn on its own, but with your wood, it grows hotter, stronger, wider, touching lives you may never meet, carrying light into places you will never step. Chosen one, you are not asked to give out of guilt. You are invited to give out of joy, to like, to share, to subscribe, to donate. These are not burdens. They are opportunities to say, I will not hide my light. I will help this fire shine. No, think of it this way. When one star shines, the night is pierced. But when countless stars join together, the whole sky becomes a map of hope. That is what happens when many chosen ones decide to act together. Each small act alike, a share, a subscription, a seed of generosity, becomes part of a constellation guiding others home. And for you, Chosen one. Know this, even if you do nothing, you are still loved, still chosen, still called. Nothing can take that away. These invitations are never conditions. They are doors you may step through if you desire to walk further in the story of light. You are a flame. You are a torchbearer. You are a city on a hill. And the light in you will never be hidden again. Even the smallest flame has purpose. You may think your impact is insignificant, but every flicker of your light pushes back shadows more than you realize. Someone right now may be surviving because your glow reminded them not to give up. When you let your light shine, you create a pathway. It is like lighting candles down a dark corridor. Each one adds safety, direction, and hope. Others will walk in courage because your flame stood unshaken. Chosen one. This is not just about shining for today. Your light will echo into generations, long after you are gone. The fire you carried will burn in others. Proof that darkness never wins when even one soul dares to shine. Chosen one. There is a flame within you that once burned brighter, and God is calling it back to life. You may remember the days when your heart felt alive in His presence, when prayer was not a duty but a desire, when Scripture leapt from the page and spoke directly to your soul, when worship felt like breathing. Somewhere along the way, that fire dimmed, life pressed in, distractions multiplied, disappointments piled higher, and slowly the flame became a faint ember. But here is the truth. Embers are not ashes. Embers still carry heat, and all it takes is the breath of God to stir them into fire again. What you thought was gone has not been lost. It has only been waiting for the moment when heaven breathes upon it again. Think of a field after winter. Snow covers everything. The ground appears dead. The trees stand bare. Yet under the surface, life waits. Roots are not destroyed. They are resting. When the warmth of spring touches them, buds burst. Blossoms open. Color floods the land once more. So it is with your spirit. What looks barren is only waiting for the season to shift. There was once a man who walked away from faith for many years. He chased success, relationships, and pleasures, convinced he had outgrown his need for God. Yet no matter what he gained, emptiness followed. Then one quiet night, memories of his youth returned, the joy he once felt when singing, the peace he knew when praying. He broke down in tears, realizing that flame was still alive somewhere inside him. That night, he whispered, "God, if you still want me, I'm here." In an instant, warmth filled his heart again. The prodigal flame returned. As the Apostle Paul reminds us in his second letter to Timothy, chapter 1, verse 6, "For this reason I remind you to fan into flame the gift of God, which is in you through the laying on of my hands." This is what God is speaking to you now. Fan the flame. Do not assume it has died. Stir it. Protect it. Feed it with His word and His presence, and it will grow again. Chosen one. Maybe you feel unworthy to return. Maybe you think too much time has passed. Too many mistakes have piled up. But the Father's love is not bound by your past. He does not measure your worth by the years you wandered. He measures it by the fact that you are His, and His desire is always restoration. Imagine a candle placed in the window of a house at night. It may have been blown out by the wind, but the householder lights it again. placing it where all can see. The relit flame not only warms the house but also guides travelers outside. Your rekindled fire will do the same. It will warm your own soul and illuminate paths for those around you. Even your scars have a role to play. They become fuel for compassion, reminders that you understand the valleys others walk through. The enemy tried to use them as proof you were finished. But in God's hands they become proof you are called. And when this flame returns, it will not only be for your comfort, it will become a testimony. Others who have lost their way, others who think their faith is beyond repair, will see your light and find courage to believe again. Your restoration will become their roadmap. Chosen one, take this moment to recognize the ember inside you. Feel its quiet heat. Believe that it can burn again. Let God breathe on it, and watch as the flame rises, higher than before, brighter than you imagined. Because what He restores in fullness. The prodigal flame is not just returning, it is returning with strength, with purpose, and with glory that will draw many out of the shadows into the light. The flame that returns in you will not flicker timidly. It will roar like a bonfire in the night, refusing to be hidden. What once felt fragile will now feel unstoppable, because it is sustained not by your effort but by His Spirit. Your journey, with all its wandering and return, will become a beacon. Others who see only ashes in their own lives will look at you and realize embers still remain. They will believe restoration is possible because they witnessed it in you. Chosen one, hold this truth tightly. What God rekindles cannot be extinguished by darkness. The fire in you will not fade again. It will burn steady, guiding you and many others back home to Him. Chosen one, there are moments when heaven asks you to make your faith visible, not because God needs proof of your belief, but because you do. A declaration in the open has power. It strengthens your spirit, silences doubt, and signals to the unseen world that you are aligned with your calling. Numbers have always carried meaning in the sacred texts. They are not accidents. They are symbols of covenant, completion, and divine order. 7 speaks of perfection, 12 of government and authority, 40 of testing and breakthrough. Numbers are not mere figures. They are reminders that God writes His story in patterns that even creation reflects. Think of Israel marching around Jericho 7 times before the walls fell. Think of Jesus fasting 40 days in the wilderness before His ministry began. Think of 12 disciples who became the foundation of a movement that shook nations. These numbers were not chosen at random. They were woven with purpose. And now, there is a number heaven places before you as a prophetic act, not a charm, not superstition, but a symbol of your decision to align yourself with what God is speaking in this moment. As the Apostle John recorded in Revelation, chapter 3, verse 8, I know your deeds. See, I have placed before you an open door that no one can shut. I know that you have little strength, yet you have kept my word and have not denied my name. Chosen one, this verse is your mirror. An open door stands before you. It has been unlocked, not by your strength, but by His mercy. No opposition, nor failure. No past mistake can close what God has opened. But stepping through requires your agreement. It requires your yes. Imagine standing in front of a great gate, iron and heavy, once impossible to move. Suddenly it swings open. wide and silent. Beyond it lies a path flooded with light. The invitation is clear. Walk through, yet hesitation lingers. What if you are not ready? What if you fail again? These questions are chains trying to hold you back at the threshold. But faith whispers, step forward. The way has already been prepared. This is why the act of declaration matters. It is like placing your foot across the threshold. Refusing to remain in the past, your words become steps. Your confession becomes movement. Chosen one. Here is your invitation now. Comment the number 444 below. Why 444? Because it is a symbol of open doors and divine alignment. It speaks of stability, foundation, and the confirmation that heaven has gone ahead of you. By writing it, you are declaring, I choose to walk through the open door set before me. End of chapter. Do not dismiss this as trivial. Words and actions, however small, shape the unseen. Just as dipping 7 times in the Jordan healed Naaman, just as lifting a staff parted the Red Sea, so too can your simple act carry spiritual weight. Commenting 444 is not about numbers on a screen, it is about agreement in your spirit. And as you do, imagine those doors in your life swinging wider. The doors of opportunity that once seemed sealed, the doors of healing for wounds long hidden, the doors of restoration for relationships that seemed beyond repair. Each stroke of the number is you saying yes to stepping into those prepared places. But remember this, the door is not just for you. When you step through, you carry others with you. Your obedience becomes a pathway for those connected to your life. Children, friends, even strangers will find their steps made easier because you chose to move forward. Chosen one. Do not underestimate what God is doing here. The door is open. The invitation is clear. The only question is whether you will walk through. Let your declaration mark the beginning. Let your words align with heaven's decree. And as you declare 444, know this, you are stepping into a future no man can shut, because it has been written by the hand of God himself. Chosen one. When you comment 444, you are not typing random digits. You are aligning your spirit with a door already open in the heavens. It is a statement that says, I will no longer hesitate. I will step into what has been prepared for me. This declaration matters because faith is not only believed in silence, it is confessed, spoken, and acted upon. By writing 444, you break agreement with fear and enter agreement with destiny. You mark this moment in time as the day you chose alignment over hesitation, courage over doubt, and forward movement over delay. Chosen one. There is a shift taking place in the unseen, and you are being prepared for it. Seasons never remain the same. Just as winter eventually yields to spring and night always gives way to dawn, so too does your present season give way to what is coming. The delays you have endured, the silence you have wrestled with, and the waiting that has tested your endurance have not been wasted. They have been a classroom. Preparation often feels like pressure. You may have felt stretched, pressed, even broken. But what is really happening is formation. Like clay on the potter's wheel, your life has been spun and reshaped, molded by unseen hands. The dizzying turns you have experienced were not meant to confuse you, but to refine you. Consider the story of Joshua. Before he led the people into the promised land, He served in Moses' shadow for years. He waited, observed, learned, and endured seasons of obscurity. When the time came for transition, Joshua was not caught unprepared. He had been trained in silence, sharpened in waiting, and strengthened in hiddenness. You are walking a similar road. According to what is written in the book of Hebrews, chapter 12, verse 11, no discipline seems pleasant at the time, but painful. Later on, however, it produces a harvest of righteousness and peace for those who have been trained by it. Oh, that is the essence of your season. What felt painful has been productive. What seemed like loss has actually been the planting of seed. You may not see the harvest yet, but heaven assures you it is coming. Think of a bow and arrow. The arrow is pulled back before it is released forward. The deeper the pull, the further the arrow will fly. Your setbacks have not been endings. They have been the pullback preparing you for release. The tighter the tension, the greater the distance you will cover when God launches you. I once heard the story of a young woman who longed for breakthrough. She prayed daily, yet doors remained closed. She began to doubt herself, wondering if she had missed her moment. But as time passed, she realized the waiting had matured her. She learned resilience, patience, and wisdom she never would have gained had everything opened easily. When the right opportunity finally arrived, she carried it with strength and humility that only her waiting could have produced. So it is with you. The waiting has not been punishment. It has been equipping. The silence has not been absence. It has been instruction. God has been preparing you for a shift that requires more than talent. It requires depth, endurance, and trust. Imagine a seed buried in the soil. It disappears, covered in darkness, unseen by the world above. Days, weeks, months pass, and nothing seems to change. Yet beneath the soil, roots spread wide and deep. By the time the sprout breaks through the surface, it is already anchored for storms. That is you. Your roots have been growing in hiddenness, and soon the evidence of that growth will appear for all to see. Chosen one. Preparation is not glamorous, but it is holy. It is in these unseen moments that character is forged, that resilience is birthed, that clarity of vision takes shape. Without preparation, blessings become burdens. With preparation, blessings become platforms. Do not despise this season. See it as training ground. Every challenge has been sharpening you. Every delay has been aligning you. Every closed door has been protecting you from what would have destroyed you too soon. And now, the shift is near. You may sense it already, the stirring in your spirit. The anticipation you cannot explain. The faint fragrance of change in the air. These are signs that your season is turning. Chosen one. You are not the same person you were when this began. You are stronger, wiser, and more anchored. The waiting has done its work, and soon you will step into what has been prepared for you. Hold steady. The bow is drawn. The seed is sprouting. The season is shifting. And when it breaks forth, you will understand why the preparation was necessary all along. The shift will not come with chaos, but with clarity. Doors that once resisted will swing open with ease, and paths that seemed hidden will suddenly be illuminated. You will recognize that what once felt like endless waiting was in fact God's perfect timing. chosen one. Step into this with confidence. Do not question the strength you have gained or the wisdom you now carry. Every lesson, every scar, every silent night has been shaping you for this very moment of release and forward movement. Chosen one, the time has come for you to lay down the chains and take up the crown. For too long, you have carried labels that were never yours to bear, words spoken in anger, lies whispered by the enemy, judgments cast by people who never truly saw you. These have hung around your neck like heavy iron, convincing you that you are unworthy of joy, unfit for purpose, undeserving of love. But God has always seen you differently. The chains represented your past, the guilt, the shame, the failures that tried to define you. Yet none of those things are eternal. Chains may bind for a season, but crowns are prepared for eternity. You are not called to live bowed down in regret. You are called to rise, crowned in glory. Think of a prisoner released from captivity. At first, he may still hunch his shoulders, still hear the clink of metal in his imagination, still move cautiously as though the shackles remain. But the truth is that the chains are gone. What holds him back is not reality, but memory. The same is true for you. The prison door has been opened. The chains have fallen. It is time to walk like the free air you are. As the Apostle James wrote in chapter 1, verse 12, "Blessed is the one who perseveres under trial, because, having stood the test, that person will receive the crown of life that the Lord has promised to those who love him." One, chosen one. This crown is not only reserved for eternity, even now. God calls you to live crowned with dignity, with purpose, with the authority of one who belongs to him. The trials you have endured were not wasted. They were tests that produced strength, and strength is the evidence that you are ready to wear the crown prepared for you. Consider how a diamond is formed. It begins as carbon, ordinary and unremarkable, but under intense pressure, in conditions that seem unbearable, it transforms into something unbreakable, dazzling, and priceless. That is what your trials have done. They pressed you, but they also transformed you. What was once hidden potential is now revealed beauty. Do not underestimate what God has placed upon your head. To wear a crown is to carry responsibility, but it is also to carry honor. You are called not only to survive, but to reign not in arrogance, but in service, not in domination, but in love. Your crown is proof that you belong to the King, and as his child, you reflect his majesty. I once heard the story of a man who always considered himself broken. Every setback reinforced his belief that he was a failure. Then one day, in prayer, he saw a vision, a crown resting on his head. He protested, saying, "I don't deserve this." But God's response was simple. "It was never about what you deserved. It is about who I have declared you to be." From that moment, his life shifted. He began to walk with quiet confidence, no longer chained by shame, but lifted by identity. That is what is happening for you now. The exchange is complete. Chains for crowns, shame for dignity, fear for courage, the past for the promise. Imagine standing before a mirror. At first, you only see the marks left by chains, scars on your wrists, weariness in your eyes. But then, slowly, your vision clears, and you notice the crown resting on your head. It gleams with resilience, with the lessons learned, with the battles survived. That crown is not fragile. It has been forged in fire. Chosen one. Wear it boldly, not to draw attention to yourself, but to reflect the glory of the one who placed it there. Every time you choose forgiveness over bitterness, you polish that crown. Every time you stand firm when fear tells you to run, you strengthen its shine. Every time you walk in love, you reveal its true beauty. The crown is not a distant promise. It is your present identity. Step into it fully. Let go of the posture of a prisoner and rise with the confidence of a crowned heir. The chains are gone. The crown remains. And nothing in this world can strip it from you, because it has been secured by the hands of the eternal King. Chosen one. Crowns are not worn in secret. They are meant to be seen, not for pride, but as a testimony of survival and grace. Let others see the evidence of your freedom. Your story itself is a crown shining proof that darkness failed to keep you bound. And as you walk forward crowned, remember, every step is victory. Every breath is royalty. Chosen one. The call to rise has always been upon you. The battles you've endured were never meant to bury you, but to prove the strength planted within you. You've been pressed, boot, not destroyed. You've been wounded, but not forsaken. And now, the time has come for you to rise, not timidly, not half-heartedly, but with the authority of one who knows their destiny. Rising does not mean life will suddenly be without hardship. Rising means you choose to stand anyway. It means you lift your eyes beyond the weight of today and see the promise that still waits tomorrow. It means you stop allowing shame, fear, or doubt to hold your voice hostage. When you rise, you remind the world and the unseen realm that you were never defeated, only delayed. The Word of God reminds us in the book of Micah, chapter 7, verse 8, "Do not gloat over me, my enemy, though I fall. I will rise, though I sit in darkness. The Lord will be my light." This is your anthem. Though you have fallen, you will rise. Though darkness surrounded you, light now breaks through. And when you rise, others will rise with you. But let us speak plainly. No one rises alone. Even eagles, though strong, first learn to fly in the presence of others. Rising is both personal and communal. And this is where your choices matter. The choices to stay connected, to keep the flame alive, to ensure that what lifts you also reaches others. Press like as though you are placing a stone at the base of a monument that declares, "Here stood a chosen one who rose again." Each like is another stone, another witness, another reminder that this rising is real. Share this message as though you were sending out a lifeboat into stormy seas. You may never know who is sinking, who is calling for help, but your share could be the vessel that rescues them. Subscribe as if you were opening a window in your own house, letting the light continue to pour in. Each subscription is a decision not to close yourself off from the stream of hope that is waiting to visit you again. Leave a simple comment below, as if you were carving your name into the bark of an ancient tree. That tree will stand as witness that you chose to rise in this moment, and generations after will know you stood. And if your heart stirs even deeper, if you sense that gentle nudge within you, then hear this. To give is to plant a vineyard. You may not drink the wine today, but generations after, You will gather in the shade of what you planted. A donation is not a payment. It is a seed of legacy. No one will ever force you. No one will ever demand it. For love cannot be purchased, and heaven's grace cannot be sold. Yet the beauty of giving is that it becomes your own offering of gratitude, your own act of participation in the work that has touched you. You do not give to earn blessing. You give because you have already been blessed. Think of firewood stacked beside a hearth. The flame may burn with or without more wood. But when others bring logs and place them carefully into the fire, it grows hotter, brighter, and warmer for everyone gathered around. That is what happens when you support this mission. You help the fire burn stronger, reaching souls who might otherwise remain in the cold. And if you cannot, know this: your presence still matters. Watching, listening, allowing the message to reach you is also a form of rising. The kingdom is not built only by those who give, but by those who believe. And you, by staying here, prove you believe that your life has meaning and that God has not abandoned you. Chosen one. Rising is a choice. Today, you stand on the edge of that decision. You can bow to the weight, or you can rise with your crown, with your flame, with your calling intact. And as you rise, know this: heaven celebrates, darkness trembles, and the earth itself takes notice. So let your rising not be hidden. Let it be a testimony, whether through your words, your actions, your likes, your shares, your seeds, your comments, or your prayers. Let your rising echo across generations, because the truth is unshakable. You were never meant to stay down. You were always destined to rise. Chosen one. Walking with fire is not about spectacle. It is about intimacy. The flame you carry is not meant only for moments of inspiration, but for every step of your journey. It is a fire that sustains, guides, and transforms daily life. To walk with fire is to live aware that God's presence is with you, not as an idea, but as a living reality. Think of how fire behaves. It gives warmth in the cold, light in the dark, and power when harnessed. But fire also demands reverence. Carelessness can cause it to burn out or to consume recklessly. In the same way, your walk with God's flame is marked by both power and responsibility. It is not something you play with lightly. It is something you guard, feed, and honor. There was once a young man who received a candle during a midnight vigil. The flame was passed to him from another, and he was told, "Guard this light until morning." At first, it seemed easy, but as the night deepened, winds pressed through cracks in the walls. The flame flickered, threatened to die, and he realized his task was harder than expected. He shielded it with his hands, adjusted the wax, stayed alert. By morning, his candle was still burning, and others lit their candles from his pros. That is what walking with fire looks like: vigilance, devotion, and the awareness that others are watching your flame. As the prophet Jeremiah recorded in chapter 20, verse 9, "His word is in my heart, like a fire, shut in my bones. I am weary of holding it in. Indeed, I cannot." This is the kind of fire you carry. It is not easily silenced, even in seasons when you tried to walk away. The flame pressed inside you, reminding you of who you are. It may dim at times, but it never disappears. Walking with fire means you learn to cultivate it in both quiet and storm. In quiet, you feed the flame through prayer, through scripture, through moments of worship that no one sees. In storms, you learn to shield it, to protect it against winds of doubt and waves of fear. Both seasons are necessary. Both seasons teach you endurance. Imagine a torchbearer in a relay. The runner does not simply hold the flame for themselves, they carry it forward, protecting it through the race, ensuring it reaches the next runner. Your flame is not only for you, it is meant to be carried, protected, and passed on. Children, friends, even strangers will be touched by its light as you continue walking faithfully with it. There is also a refining aspect to this fire. It does not only give warmth, it purifies. Gold is tested in fire, and so is your character. The very flame that comforts you also burns away what cannot remain. Pride, bitterness, fear. All of these are reduced when exposed to God's fire. Though the process may sting, it leaves you purified, lighter, and more radiant. Chosen one. Walking with fire requires awareness. It means remembering that every choice you make either feeds the flame or dims it. Words spoken in anger can cast a shadow over it, but words of truth fan it brighter. Acts of compromise weaken it, but acts of integrity strengthen it. The fire responds to what you bring, yet even when you falter, know this: the giver of the flame has not abandoned you. He tends it with you. You are not left to walk alone, carrying an impossible task. His spirit is the wind that feeds it, His word, the oil that sustains it, His presence, the spark that reignites it when you grow weary. Walking with fire is not about perfection. It is about persistence. It is about choosing again and again to guard the flame, even when your hands are tired, even when the night feels long. And with each step, the fire shapes you, making you resilient, compassionate, and radiant with a light that darkness cannot understand. So, chosen one, continue to walk with fire. Let it be seen not only in your words, but in your actions, your compassion, your endurance. Let it guide you in valleys and on mountaintops alike. For as long as you carry this flame, you will never be lost, and the path before you will always be lit with His glory. And when others see your flame, they will not only find direction, they will find courage to protect their own. Your walk becomes a living testimony that the fire of God is not fragile. It endures, it refines, and it spreads, transforming every place your steps touch. Chosen one, destiny has always been waiting for you. It was written before your first breath, hidden in the pages of eternity, waiting for the moment you would awaken to it. What you have endured, what you have carried, even what you thought disqualified you has been shaping you for this unveiling. Destiny is not a sudden event, but a gradual unfolding. It is like the sunrise. For hours the horizon remains dark. Then faint streaks of color appear, small and almost unnoticed. But soon the sky is ablaze, undeniable and impossible to ignore. Your journey has been those early streaks, subtle and hidden. Now the fullness of the sunrise approaches. Every season you have walked through has been preparation. The waiting taught you endurance. The battles taught you courage. The rejections taught you resilience. The tears taught you compassion. Nothing has been wasted. Destiny gathers each fragment and weaves them into a tapestry of purpose. Consider Joseph, who was betrayed by his brothers, sold as a slave, and thrown into prison. To others, his story looked like tragedy. Yet each step, painful as it was, carried him closer to the place he was meant to stand, a place where he could save nations and restore the very family that hurt him. What looked like detours were actually divine directions. So it is with you. As the prophet Habakkuk declared in chapter 2, verse 3, "For the vision awaits an appointed time. It speaks of the end and will not prove false. Though it linger, wait for it. It will certainly come and will not delay." No, chosen one, your vision, your calling, your destiny has an appointed time. The waiting you have endured was not denial. It was alignment. The delay was not a rejection. It was timing. Heaven has been ensuring that when the door opens, you are ready to walk through it with strength. Think of an arrow resting in the bow. To the untrained eye, it looks as though the arrow is being pulled backward, away from its target. Yet the archer knows that the greater the pullback, the further and straighter the arrow will fly. You have been in the pullback, but now the release approaches. Destiny will not always feel grand. Sometimes it looks like simple obedience, choosing kindness when bitterness tempts, standing firm when fear presses, speaking truth when silence would be easier. Each small step is a thread in the larger pattern. Together, they create a life that reflects divine design. I once heard the story of a woman who believed her life had no purpose. She worked quietly, unnoticed, raising her children with faith and love. Years later, her children became leaders, healers, and teachers who impacted hundreds. She realized then that her destiny was never small. It had been hidden in the legacy she created day by day. So too, with you, destiny is not only about what you achieve, but about who you become. It is not measured by titles or applause, but by faithfulness. Your destiny is to walk with God, to reflect His light, to carry His presence wherever you go. Imagine standing at the edge of a river that flows endlessly. You step into it, and though the water carries you forward, you realize you are not being swept away. You are being guided. That river is destiny. It is not about striving or forcing, but about surrendering to the flow of the one who guides your steps. Chosen one, do not fear what lies ahead. The same God who carried you through deserts and storms will carry you into promise. You are not stepping into the unknown, but into the prepared. Destiny is not a mystery to Him. It is a certainty. And when you look back one day, you will see it clearly, the thread of grace that ran through every season, the hand that held you even when you stumbled, the doors that opened at just the right time. You will see that destiny was never far away. It was always waiting for you to walk into it. Now the horizon glows with promise. The sunrise breaks. Your destiny awaits, and it calls you by name. Chosen one. This destiny is not fragile. It is not easily stolen, because it was written before time itself. No failure has the authority to erase it, and no shadow can dim it. Your role is simply to walk forward, step by step. Even the smallest act of obedience becomes a doorway into greater fulfillment. Destiny is not rushed, but faithfully embraced. And when you finally stand in it fully, you will realize this is what the waiting, the tears, The battles were for to reveal who you truly are. Chosen one. You have walked through this message from beginning to end. You have felt the weight of truth, the sting of conviction, and the warmth of promise. This was not a random journey. Each word has been a step toward awakening, a call to rise into the identity God has always known about you. Now, the choice is yours. Do you let this message fade into the noise of the world? Or do you carry it as a flame into your days? What you do now matters. The response of your heart is not about pleasing people, but about aligning with the destiny already written for you. Press like as though you were lighting a candle in a vast cathedral. One light may seem small, but when joined with others, it turns shadows into brilliance. Share this message as though you were releasing a letter in a bottle across the ocean. You may never know whose shore it will reach, but someone waiting in silence will be rescued by it. Subscribe as if you were opening the door of your home to the morning sun, letting fresh air and light stream in again and again. And if your heart is stirred, consider giving, not as a payment, but as planting a seed in fertile soil. You may never see all the fruit it bears, but generations will gather its harvest. Leave a comment below. Like carving your testimony into the bark of an ancient tree, that tree will stand as witness that you chose to rise in this moment, leaving a mark that time cannot erase. Chosen one, your story is not finished. Your flame is alive, and as you carry it forward, remember, heaven has been waiting for you, and now the world will see why.